Keith Gerrard, English cross-country national champion in 2012. That's a fantastic achievement. Explain how you felt on the start line, whether you felt you were going to win that day, how you felt during the race, and what it's been like since your win.
Well, I was confident I was in good shape. I knew I was going to be up there and in the mix because I'd been away altitude training for a few weeks beforehand, and when I turned up, I knew I was ready to go. With a race like the National, you can never be sure how it's going to go on the day. There was a lot of good guys there. I think everyone that might have turned up did turn up, but I knew I was ready to go and had a bit of a vague idea of how I'd like to run the race, and it all went to plan, and I'm obviously delighted with the result. It couldn't have gone any better.
But when you were standing on the start line, did you really think this is going to be my day, or did you?
I was feeling good about myself on the start line. Yeah, I felt really relaxed, and I knew that a lot of hard training was behind me, and I did feel sort of quietly confident in a strange way. Yeah, so I kind of I did have a good feeling. Yeah.
And when you crossed the finish line, we've seen the video. You look happy, and you're obviously happy. You've heard the interview on Manx Radio. But what does it meant to you? Do you go out and train the next day and sort of couldn't hold yourself back, or?
Well, it was only a few days ago, so I've sort of been recovering since, really. I didn't sleep too well the night afterwards, just because I was quite excited and stuff, and travelling home, and just been running easy since. I've done one session since the race, and that went well. So I'm just in that period at the moment, a few days after, where just trying to refocus again, because I'm racing again in 8 or 9 days. So once one race is done, I just try and put it behind me as quickly as I can and look to the next one, because typical athlete mentality. I just always want more.
Yes.
I'm pleased with the result, but I'm greedy. I want more. So I'm trying to focus on the next one.
It's just under 10 years ago that a young lad called Keith Gerrard, just 5 days past his 16th birthday, appeared in the Easter Festival, only just finished behind the great Manx athlete that is Andy Fox.
Yeah.
I bet it seems a long time ago now, and you've had lots of successes, particularly at cross country, and you've had all your track successes in the States as well. What have those 10 years been like? There must have been some ups and downs during that time. You went to university, you've been to America. Tell us about all that.
Yeah, there's so much to tell. I mean, so much has happened in that 10 years. Like I say, definitely ups and downs. I mean, running's tough even at the best of times, isn't it? But I guess there's the good performances that you do have from time to time, just make it all worthwhile, and they just make you keep going and going.
But when you came on the scene there, you not been taking part that long. You made a name for yourself very young. You were still 15 when you were taking part against some of the seniors.
Yeah.
You were still at school. At what point did you decide that athletics was going to be a big part of your life?
It was, like I say, after that Easter Festival race on the Isle of Man. I think at that point I was still just playing local football and a couple of runs a week by myself from the house. And turned up that night and had a really good run against all the best locals on the island, and I think that was what really made me think, I'd be alright at running if I trained properly.
And you went to university, you changed schools in between, didn't you? I think you went to the Isle of Man College?
Yeah, I did. I did my early school, high school years at QE2, took my GCSEs there, went to college and retook some GCSEs, and then went back to school for my A-levels. So. And
were you always planning from that point onwards? University was about running as well as the academic side.
Yeah, I think it was when I was just going into sixth form at QE2. That was when my running really started to take off, and by the time I'd finished my A-levels at QE2, so that was when I was 18 and 19, I knew that my university decision had to be focused on running, really.
And so you based yourself in London with a group of other like-minded athletes at St Mary's College?
Yeah, I went to what was the Endurance Performance Centre at St Mary's College. There was a good crop of athletes already based down there from the older generations, and then myself and a few others went in 2005, and I had a good 4 years at St Mary's in the same athlete block for 4 years, and like you say, some ups and downs while I was there, but generally by the time I left 4 years later, I was a much better athlete, much stronger athlete when I was 22. So.
And at what point did you start thinking about America? That was quite late on, was it?
Yeah, it was very late, and I'd already graduated from St Mary's by the time I thought about it. I finished in the May or June, and I didn't know what I was doing when I graduated, and it all came along quite quickly in the space of a few weeks. I was lucky that I could be recruited so quickly, and yeah, great decision to go to America. I had a brilliant time out there, and got another degree obviously, and my running has completely changed again since I've been in America. I'm again much stronger athlete. So
We hear a lot about the expectations when you go to an American college. Is there a lot of pressure put on you to perform and to over race?
no, not where I was, not at all. I went to New Mexico, and the coach out there, Joe Franklin, he was very athlete friendly, looked after his athletes well, and I was by no means over raced. In fact, my first year at New Mexico, I had an awful time. I was in terrible shape the first few months, and I was given the time that I needed to adjust to all the new lifestyle and other various things, and eventually I came through very, very strongly at the end, but there was no real pressure other than what I put on myself. So very good place to go, New Mexico.
And you've gone at a good time in the sense that modern communication means that we were all able to enjoy watching your races on the internet and so on. 10 years ago that wouldn't have been possible. Did you still feel that you had the Manx people behind you? Were you aware that people were sort of watching you back home and
of course. Wherever I go, whoever I'm running for or wherever I'm running, I'm still from the Isle of Man, and I'm still doing it for the Isle of Man. So
because you've been running for the last few years, you've been running for Newham and Essex Beagles, I think is the name of the club, and also you've had to sometimes forego opportunities to run for the Isle of Man and the Island Games, even though you've won and set a games record in 2011 and won the gold medal in two events. But do you feel sometimes that you've had to compromise your position with Manx clubs, Manx teams and so on?
Yeah, I have. I mean, like you say, I run for Newham and Essex Beagles, and being in America, that the last couple of years obviously reduced the times I could run for the Isle of Man. But it's like I say, I like to think that wherever I go and whatever competition I'm competing in, I like people to recognise me as Keith Gerrard, the Manx athlete. So I think I carry that with me wherever I go. And
you got financial support from the Isle of Man still?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Isle of Man Sports Aid, I couldn't have done it without in the last 10 years now, and more recently Martin Bullock as well, who's helping me now that I'm not a university student anymore, helping me continue training at the level that I need to keep getting better.
So when you first started out, I think Andy Fox was helping you, and then he was he's one of those good guys who sees the bigger picture, and you had other coaches along the way. At the moment, the Power of 10 website says you've got no coach, but I understand that you're being coached by an American, is it?
I'm just still working with my with a coach that helped me while I was in Albuquerque the last few years. His name's Art Acevedo, and obviously when I was based at the university, Joe Franklin was the head coach that looked after the team. But since I went back to Albuquerque in the last few weeks, I linked in with Art, who helped me a lot while I was in America at university, and he has a group of post-collegiate athletes out there, and I was training with them, and that works really well for me. It really gets me ticking.
Now you're back in the Isle of Man, how's that going to work?
Yeah, again, just through emails and phone calls. I can still carry on with what he sets, so it seems to be working well.
Keith, you've set some great Manx records. You've wiped the floor with the history book really, and hold all the middle distance records on the track. You also made you know this, but I'm explaining to people following this video. A great half marathon debut, 63:39, first British runner in the Great North Run. And it's probably cross country that you made the name for more than anything. I mean, I think a lot of people who watch this video will have remembered all the years we've watched you in the intercounties and watch out for you. So three things: there's the cross country, there's the road running, and there's the track. Where's it all going to go? How do you plan to? Are you going to continue with all three of those disciplines, or how's it going to go in the next couple of years?
Well, for now, I'm focusing on track. I've made some great improvements on the track in the last couple of years. I know you just said that you felt that cross country had been my forte, but I'd like to think that in the last couple of years I've actually turned it around to perhaps more performing equally as well or better on the track since I've got my 10k time right down. And so for the time being, I'm just focusing on that. I'm enjoying the track, and I still feel like I've got plenty more to come over 10,000 metres and 5,000 metres. So I'm working on that, but I still stand by what I've always said, that ultimately, hopefully in the not too distant future, I will start running more half marathons and eventually a full marathon. I can't say exactly when the full marathon will be, but
There was a story, it was reported in one of the local magazines that you're going to run this year's London Marathon, but that's not on.
I had thought about that for a while. In fact, that was actually my plan up until about Christmas, but for one reason or another, I just didn't feel quite right attacking that this spring. A few different reasons, and I just felt that I was better off sticking at what I'm excelling at the moment, and stepping up to marathon when I felt it was the right time. You know, not just because other people are pushing me into it. So.